As those of you who, in the graduating class who read emails from the university's president, and I know there are at least a few of you out there who do, the day after spring break, I sent an email to graduating seniors asking you, what would you like me to talk about in my commencement remarks? This year, I was particularly struck by a common theme in your responses, and it went something like this. With all of the challenges of starting a career, with all of the demands of our professional lives, how do we find a balance? Many of you asked along with that question, how do you, as the president, find a balance? What are the components of the meaningful personal life for which Drake's mission statement promises you that you'll be prepared? Now, I said I was struck by the frequency of that question, but I wasn't the least bit surprised. Excuse me. Your generation, as you look at career opportunities, is insisting on a balance between life and work, a balance that certainly wasn't typical of members of early generations, or mine. For the most part, we've tended to define ourselves by our occupations, by what we did. You've got a much healthier attitude. It's not that you don't have ambition, or that you don't expect to work hard and to reap the rewards of that work, but to your great credit, you also expect to have a life. In spite of the fact that I expect Maddie will find any attempt on my part to explain work-life balance to be ironic, I'm going to attempt to provide an answer to your question, and I'm going to answer it in two ways. The second in a manner that I suspect you'll find a little unusual, but more of that in a moment. The first part of the answer is that, from my perspective, a meaningful personal life, first, more than anything, is not about you. It's about others. It's about the nature of the consequences of the fact that you were here. It's a matter of engaged citizenship, a matter of finding a way to ensure that it made a difference that you were here, that someone else's life, some organization or institution, some community, maybe even the whole world, is better off because you spent some time on Earth. It should matter that you were here. But there's also another vitally important component of a meaningful personal life, and that part is about you. What are the ways in which you try to make sense of things, to understand the world and what happens in it? What are the ways in which you try to decipher the promise of human capabilities, the ways in which you try to comprehend your own place in the order of things? What are the ways in which you begin to understand who you are and who you want to be? What are the ways in which you search for inspiration? And as selfish as it may sound, but equally important, what are the ways in which you seek comfort and solace and refuge from the erosion of your soul that comes from excessive, prolonged immersion in reality? Ensuring that you're grounded in reality is essential, of course, but so is dreaming. So are the daily vacations from everything else that consumes you, even from the good things. Excuse me. So let me close this part of my answer by telling you what that component of my life is. It's narratives. It's stories. Narratives, whether created thousands of years ago or last week, can help us better understand how we came to be who we are and who we can be. They help us see the world through the eyes of others. They create worlds we've never seen before, and they're testimony to the immense power, the immense creative power of the human imagination. Immersing myself in narratives, in stories, is for me the most important way outside of family in which I ground my personal life. Now, for 10 years, this is my 11th commencement at Drake. Maddie and I celebrated our 11th year at Drake yesterday. It's become expected by my friends on the faculty and staff that at some point, excuse me, in my remarks, I will quote a relevant passage from a narrative, a work of fiction from one of my favorite 19th century Russian authors. But as you well know, words are not the only way to tell a story. There are stories in colors and shapes, in movement, and in sounds. And that's the other part of where my meaningful personal life lies, not only in my passion for reading fiction, but in my love for music. As Dick said, my father was a highly acclaimed jazz trumpet player. I didn't inherit his talent, I didn't inherit his discipline, but I did inherit his passion for the music, the joy of listening to it, and the immense pleasure of making joyful sounds. I am, thanks to my gene pool, one of those people who has music playing in his head all the time. And I only wish that I could make what's playing in my head come out of my guitar. I'm one of those people who literally disappears into music when I'm listening, oblivious to the reality around me, which makes for interesting moments every morning when I run with my iPod shuffling through its 9,500 songs. Music takes me to places I can't get to any other way. It enables me to see the world in ways that words cannot convey. It immerses me in emotions from sadness to the sublime. Music makes us ageless, at least when we're listening to it or playing it, which is an important attribute at my age. As Kurt Vonnegut wonderfully said, and I think he was quoting someone else, but I don't remember whom, music is the only true evidence that we have for the existence of God. Personally, I'd like to state it a little bit differently. Music is one of the most important ways we have in which we prove that we exist, and that gives meaning and purpose to the fact that we're here. Given the immense talents of the man whom we're honoring today with an honorary degree, saxophonist Dick Oates, it seemed only fitting that I conclude my narrative about the ways in which one gives life meaning in a different mode, quoting some of my favorite authors who crafted their stories in notes rather than words. So if you'll give us a moment, Dick and I will be right with you to continue the story.